Man,
All
it's hard to
right.
believe another year's over, eh?
Ugh. Yeah. Yeah.
I love how you got into the different coins. Is there a um, particular strategy process that anybody can use to investigate, um, like some of the things you've revealed about SPX and Polygon, um, in terms of their relationship to the gaming community? And um, there's got to be things that an individual can look for to indicate that this coin is going to have um, some significance in in the future.
Yep. Yeah. I hear you. What are the criteria that
Yep,
I would look for in
yep,
anything? Yeah,
yeah,
this is a
exactly.
good question. The for me the biggest thing that needs to be ingrained in people is to identify trends. We talk about trends on the chart, but just think of the trend of the internet. What trends were born out of the internet? Incredible technological advancements in technology and communications and databasing and be able to digitize that which would take up tons of room. There was just a whole plethora of trends that were born out of that technology. And so the first thing that I look to is it going to catch a trend? If it's not going to catch a trend, if it's already trending, most of the money has already been made.
So you definitely have to be a futurist, almost
Yes,
a
that
forward
that is,
thinker.
and if you're not, that's okay because some people their their brains don't work that way,
Of
and
course, yeah.
so it's recognizing that you're going to want to have someone in your circles that can help you identify those trends. And as what's kind of nice about trends is that when you explain them out, they are visible.
They are what?
Visible. People
Yeah,
can see them. People or
sure.
get a sense of them. Maybe not, maybe they're less visual. Maybe they're more auditory, or maybe they're more logical. And that's kind of the art of marketing is being able to identify what affinity people have, or identify language patterns to touch every affinity that people have in their senses.
Okay.
Plainly put, you want to make sure that what you if you are considering something, make sure it's something that's going to trend. And that's kind of one of the components. Hey Audrey, another component to it is beyond just identifying a trend is it something that you're interested in? Because if you're not that interested in it, you're not going to feel compelled to go and check the reports, go and see what's happening, to learn about this trend and what the opportunities are coming forward. It's a good idea to have a sense of interest, to some degree, and whatever that might be. Different people, again, they're going to gravitate towards different aspects of these trends. Good. Have them be interested in what it is that they're putting their equity into. If they're not interested in it, it's going to be you're just doing it for money now, and which is okay. Go ahead, make money, but don't think that you're going to enjoy the process.
You think of XRP, for instance.
Hmm.
It's been, I think it's been blown out of proportion. Just read a report this morning from Netcoins. I would, not one of my favorite places to look
Right.
for information, but you can still have somebody who's going to be honest there, and on almost every point positive for XRP, there was and however,
Yeah.
however, and all of them completely took all the wind out of whatever was positive, you know.
Right.
Um, and it's a trend. You look at the charts, and in July, it went
Yep.
way up, and then it's back down to what it was back almost in April.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, and with all the hullabaloo surrounding it, you're thinking, okay, well, this has got to be something's going on here, because you would think that the trend. I've got Louis, Louis,
Yeah.
he's huge on XRP.
Right. Yeah.
Um, he's been in XRP for years, and I mean he's already made his money in it,
Oh
really.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I'm thinking of that as the way people are talking. Some people, the trend has just begun with XRP, and um, I'm concerned it's going to be a dead duck in the water. A lot of people are going to get into it. You might see another major spike, and then it's going to crash. And but I don't know. I mean, they are looking for something to. Well, as one guy put it, I saw a short video where one guy points out that they've been adopting the network but not the coin.
Yeah.
I think that's how he put it. I'll have to go back and listen to that again.
Wow.
So that says a lot.
Mm-hmm. I think to myself, who was it that brought XRP together? It was the banking system, and they're using it as a means to facilitate transactions between themselves.
I think the big thing is that it's not decentralized. You know,
Right.
Ripple holds 40%
Mm-hmm.
of the available coin. They could literally do what um, Luna did. You
Yep.
know, dump all of its reserves onto the market, and which essentially became LUNC,
Mm-hmm.
Lunk. Yeah,
Yep.
and it really went lunk. You
No.
know, I mean, it's down to I don't even watch it anymore.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's what they call a dead coin now, where people just trade for fun, like gamble with it and grab something every once in a while.
Yeah. Anyhow,
Yeah. Yeah, there was a little bit of life in it there towards the beginning of the month, but I mean, inconsequential to what it was supposed to be. I liken it to, again, what are you going to tether to, right? XRP is built by banks. And since the whole idea behind blockchain is to make banks irrelevant,
yeah.
then I definitely do not want to be in on a token that is being used by, to me, because I recognize the power of the trend. I wouldn't invest in a coin that was presented by a bank of the old monetary system as an alternative. What better way to communicate that you want the system that incentivizes fraud to perpetuate? Maureen, how's it going?
I'm a little under the weather, but I wanted to at least come in and say hi.
Yeah. Yeah, good to see you.
Thank you.
How was the rest of your holidays after, because we last time we saw each other was Christmas Eve.
Yeah, quiet. And, we had a big storm here. So we're still cleaning up from that. It
Yeah.
wasn't that bad, but it was, it did we had to rearrange things and stuff. And then
Yeah.
it's too much. I did too much. And so now I'm recuperating. So it's
Yeah.
good. It's good I have the time now.
Good.
Thanks for asking. And how about you?
Doing well.
Good.
Doing well. So back to what you were talking about, Ian. It sounded like that you wanted to ask some questions about some of the other gaming coins, or was it just being able to identify, like, how do I evaluate?
Yeah, the
Oh,
evaluation, the criteria, yeah.
yeah, we could go further into how I look at things on Coin Market Cap if you want.
Yep.
Okay. So that's an extension. So once I know kind of, okay, I like these trends and I'm liking the idea of getting into a company that is going to optimize their position in that trend. Because that doesn't necessarily mean it's the first. It doesn't necessarily mean they have to be the pioneers. I just want to know who's positioned to do well. And that always boils down to what's their marketing. What is it that they're doing? How is it that they're attracting eyeballs? What is their message? What language patterns do they use? And are they aligned with the values that would support their success through the trend? That's the very next thing. Before I look at market cap, before I look at anything else, I want to know, does this have the values that I value as we go through this great reset? Because I don't want it to be just I know it's going to go up and down, but I don't want to make a bunch of money off of something like XRP. I would feel sick to my stomach for profiting through something like that, right? I would rather make sure that if I'm going to go through with this, that it's something that benefits, that it becomes a catalyst for positivity and change and an improvement. And maybe it won't last after that. Maybe it won't be necessary, but maybe it will continue. I believe that if they have the values that can get it through the Great Reset, that it'll have the values to carry us forward too. Whatever that might evolve into, similar to, how Cardano evolved now is, that ecosystem is now evolving midnight. Perfect.
So this takes this requires an ability to read between the lines, though. Like
Yes.
everything you've just said is pretty much reading between the lines, because they can put whatever they want in a white paper. They can put a lot of stuff on marketing,
Yes.
and you got to sit there and analyze it. Like you really, there has to be an analysis of something.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely that, but it doesn't do you any good if it's off the trend. It doesn't do you any good if you're not interested in it. It doesn't do you any good if it's a technical analysis if you don't have an exit strategy. And so these are the types of things I need to consider before I look at the marketing, right? So when I do look at the marketing, a way that I have discernment in that is, does it sound original? If it sounds like it's copycatting, it's probably just another clone of a sea of opportunities that are available. And that doesn't make it bad, but it's good to have kind of a mental note. Be like, okay, I think that it would do well simply because this is a big wave and it's going to bring a lot of companies with it. That one there, I think it will do well, but I think it'll likely be much like the rest of that, like, oh, this is a RWA that is very similarly positioned as an RWA token in this sector over here. So seeing that similarity, to me, decreases its value. Doesn't make it bad. I would just rather have identified the companies that are original, that have something unique about what they're saying. Do they come at this from a unique angle, from another perspective, a way that we haven't explored? I believe those ones to be the pioneers, and those are the ones that I would bet money on. But that's higher risk. It's higher risk. Why? Because they don't have this. They don't have the kind of capital that XRP had when it got started, or BitTensor. Right. So it's recognizing there are a lot of factors to take into play. Of course, biggest one being never risk anything more than you're willing to lose.
Now you said that.
Go ahead.
Sorry, you said that XRP was dreamed up by the banks. Is that correct?
The token itself was, yeah, the whole blockchain. It was a bank initiative.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
For a while, you couldn't get an XRP wallet without KYC.
That must still be the case, though, eh?
Possibly. I haven't checked up. I admittedly haven't checked up on it for years.
Okay.
So, let's see. What else do I use to evaluate? Let's go to coin market cap here. All right. Okay. So another thing that I do is that I just go through this every once in a while, and I look at what's in the top 100. And if I see something new, right, this is something that you do on a consistent basis. Learn about the companies, go and read about them. Good or bad, it doesn't matter. You got to read them all. In fact, probably only 20% of what I read in these coins is something that I'm even interested in. Sorry,
is this on CoinMarketCap?
Yeah, this is CoinMarketCap.
Okay.
I should say 80%. I don't even care about. I don't care. But there are things that come up and it's like, oh, this is new. Let's see what this is. So I'm just going to go through here. Render's a nice coin. That's another processing. A Curve DAO token. I don't know what this is. Maybe I've seen it before. Curve DAO token. Market cap 545 million. So, that's a nice, what we call a mid cap. Solid mid cap. I'm going to go to the website. That's my next step. And I just see, okay, what are these guys all about? Curve Finance. Looks to me like it's a DEX. Yep, it's a DEX. And they bring in the Llama, it seems. Llama Land. Oh, that's just the name of their lending position. So where you can use your liquidity for trading, or rather, you can lend liquidity, similar to what you can do with KuCoin, where you can give money to KuCoin and they lend it out to people that are spot trading, so that they can leverage their positions, and then you get paid back. They've got it where it accumulates, I think 7-day contracts or something like that. So similar there. Governance, let's see, what do they have here? So then they've also got a DAO. So their token, this token here, is going to be providing governance to this DAO. That's what it's worth. Which might be very good. Then it turns into, look, okay, what does the DAO stand for? What are they building? What is it that they're looking to bring forward in their plea for treasury funds? What is it that they stand for? Do that. I go
What do you
into
mean by plea for treasury funds?
everybody's asking for money.
Well,
These guys are asking for money.
you said treasury. Obviously, there's a
Yes.
treasury in the DAO, right?
Right. Yep.
Okay, so are you saying that the DAO that has its own treasury still has to beg for money from that treasury?
I maybe I was just was using the word beg in affectionately. They if they're on the market, they're looking for someone to buy their token. So they're looking for people to purchase the token. Every time
Okay.
someone purchases a token, it contributes to the treasury.
Okay.
Just either through transaction fees or whatever else. And then of course if you're holding the token, now you can go and bring governance to their DAO, that's a good model. That's a good economic model.
Yeah.
So I like it. It looks already looks great. I don't see any paperwork though. I don't know where I would. Oh, here we go. Documentation. So under documentation, now I can go and check out things, integrations that they have, news, security,
No white paper.
announcement. Yeah, I don't see the white paper. I don't see it. Do you see it? No.
User docs? Technical docs?
This would definitely give me an idea of their values by looking at how to use it. But I don't know. Leading decentralized exchange, stablecoin provider, and lending platform on Ethereum and EVM compatible chains. It's known for its advanced automated market makers for stablecoins and volatile assets. Okay. So this DAO is going to bring governance to the management of this the stable coin and the assets that are held with whatever tokens they're trading with the DEX, which is on the Ethereum network. So there we go. Now we kind of know what that's all about. And then I go back because I'm not that interested. That's great. I'm sure it'll do well. But I don't look at that as a opportunity for me because, it's a DAO that's behind a DEX. Not bad. It's just that's all it is. Well, there's a dime a dozen. They're all doing that, right? They do the same thing. MinSwap does the same thing. That's in Cardano.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I look at it. Here's another DAO, Lido DAO, True USD. Ooh, instead of USDT, this one is TUSD. Nice. On the Ethereum network. So that's another thing I look at. What's the address? What's the contract address? Oh, look at that. The contract address is on the Ethereum network.
That's
True USD. Well, it's not again, I've got Ethereum contracts. I've got quite a few of them. But there's just a flip of the coin, right? How many transactions does it take before the next one fails, right? We don't know. And whether or not the one that fails is $5 worth or $5 million worth, there's no saying. So to me, I don't see the reliability of the smart contract, the language of the smart contract that is used on that chain. It's a risk, and I'm willing to take it because I do see some great companies in the entire space. So digital currency built for the new global payment system. Ooh, True USD is the first USD peg stablecoin to deploy daily attestations for its underlying reserves by independent third-party institutions. Wow. So they're doing the thing that a centralized agency would have to do if they wanted to prove that they were above board. Instead of just using a blockchain to do that, they're going to still because it's the USD, right? If they're tying it, if they're pegging it to the USD, there are terms and conditions. You can't do that to Caesar's coin without permission. And if you're getting permission to do that with Caesar's coin, you got to follow these rules. And we'll let you have daily attestations for its underlying reserves will let you do that. So there you go.
What's
I analyzed that one now.
what's the negative to that?
Well, it's like old monetary system
Sure, except that,
methodologies.
well, I mean, the only thing that could change the legitimacy of this coin if they did a rug pull on it. You know,
Right.
pulled all the money and said, no, you can't use the USD anymore.
Yeah. But why wouldn't they just use the blockchain to do the daily attestations?
Well,
Why
okay.
would they have to use independent third-party institutions? The technology is well beyond that now. So this to me is someone just trying to ride the backs of the stablecoin bubble.
Okay, well, we have had blockchain systems that have collapsed. You know, look at the whole Luna thing.
Yep.
Um, it lost total credibility,
Mm-hmm.
even though it was a blockchain thing. So largely because there was no third party um, attestations.
Right.
Um, I'm just wondering if there is some quality to that. I'm presuming that TUSD is a blockchain coin.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's on the Ethereum network.
Sure. But
Yeah.
it is also attested to by third party.
Yes. Yeah. The reserves they hold in USD. That's
Okay.
what gets attested.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which again, they have to do that because it's USD. And it makes sense that that's what they would do. I don't think it's a bad idea. I think they'll probably do fine. But again, for me, when I'm looking at these, I'm just sharing my perspective on how I evaluate these coins. To me, that's just another one of the ones trying to make a stable coin. Which,
Okay, so
again, it's
there's
not bad. It's just pointless to me to chase which one is going to be one that keeps going and has my values and all that other stuff, right?
obviously we're looking for longevity, just like silver and gold. You're never going to get
Correct.
rid of the longevity of silver and gold. So so then I guess what I'm asking you is what is that connection between that to indicate that longevity for you?
Longevity, I'm not too concerned about that. And it's not that I don't want longevity to the wealth strategy, it's that I don't expect longevity with any one of these meme coins. Because that's
Okay,
how I look at all of these. To me, I look at them as meme coins. Because really, what is a meme coin? It's a community that got together and put a bunch of equity in, and they have fun sharing memes with each other about how awesome their coin is. Well, that's what Bitcoin does. It's no different. So I look at all of these as meme coins. This is going to be a wild, wild ride. I have no attachment to who or what makes it. I just try to pick out which ones I think would have the values to make it. The TSD, I'm sure it's going to do fine. I want to make sure that I'm not saying that just because I'm not investing, I think it's a dumb idea. It's just not me. I don't evaluate a coin by its ability to tether to a USD, which is designed to be collapsed over the next couple of years. To me, that's not longevity.
So how can they collapse it then?
How can how can the banking institutions collapse the U.S. dollar?
Just by pulling it out?
Yeah, just print it to oblivion. Just keep devaluing it. That's all you got to do. They're pretty good at it. They've been doing a very good job of it up till now. I trust them to continue. I trust them to finish off their job.
Of course.
So tethering to a U.S. dollar. I had this conversation a couple of years ago with someone that insisted. I can't remember what it was called. Radical coin or something like that. I can't remember. Start with an R. And he was telling me about how no, we're building a stable coin for our ecosystem so that people can quickly trade back and forth between our token that goes up and down in value and then the US dollar, so they can actually hold a pool of both of them. And I was like, how is that? Because I was legitimately trying to take in the value of his proposition. But he said, well, yeah, I mean, it's not like the US dollar is going anywhere. And I was like, wait a second, what? Do you know what this is? What, like, blockchain, AI, data, great reset? Do you know what any of this is? Or, like, in my head, I didn't ask that directly, but I was amazed that here I'm talking to a founder of a chain who wants to build a stable coin and tether it to the US dollar. And I was like, nah, I told him, I said, nah, I don't think I'm going to go much further because I don't want to be in on something that's tethered to the US dollar. It means that those tokens are going to go down in value as I hold them. What would possess me to want to do that? I don't know. I mean, unless I didn't understand anything about the monetary system, which clearly this founder of a blockchain was completely oblivious.
Yep.
Of course, I'm definitely not going to be putting my money into that coin, or anybody else that goes around tells me, oh yeah, no, the US dollar is a great thing to peg a currency to. Oh, you're going to take a death note and you're going to attach it to another one. That sounds like a real great idea.
Yeah.
Let's see what I can. I want to. I want to also make sure that I'm not just talking about what I don't like about the about the blockchain. Well, midnight, right? I mean, that's an easy one for me to say. I think is going to do well. You know what? Another one I think is going to do well is KuCoin. KuCoin is a different story, and I could be wrong on this. Obviously, I could be wrong on any of this. But I feel that the KuCoin token is one of the more solid tokens when it comes to the centralized exchanges. And the reason why is because, against all odds, they don't have restrictions on how I can use their account. I can move as much as I want in and out, can send it back and forth from the virtual bank that I have. It's a wonderful little exchange. And no other exchange treats their customers as well as KuCoin does. Oh, and another thing about KuCoin is that they get around the legislative regulatory processes that they would normally have to go through, simply because they have like a rolling contract. In Canada, for example, they have a rolling contract where they're just in development. So they're allowed to do business because they're still in development. So I think KuCoin would be a great place to go. What's nice about KuCoin is that the more tokens you have, I think if you've got like, $1,000 worth of their tokens, they give you better deals on your trades. They bring down your transaction fees. If you're just holding it, you don't have to give it to them. Just hold the coin. Just hold it. Stake it. Do whatever you want with it. You don't have to pay them anything. Just buy the coin, hold it, and they'll let you have cheaper transaction fees.
It looks like it started only back in June of 22.
Well, June of 22 is here on the chart. So that's May. Here's June. So June is here. They've been around for a while.
Okay, well, let me see what this is. I'm looking at TradingView. May of 22. It was
Okay. TradingView may simply which exchange is it that you're feeding? Because that might have been when they started listing KuCoin.
It could be, yeah. It's quite volatile
Oh yeah. Well,
on TradingView
oh
compared
yeah.
compared to uh, the BNB.
Correct. Well, and there's a very good reason for that. Let's go and check that out. What's the market cap over here? 1.39.
2 billion.
100 billion more.
Oh, 100 billion. Okay.
So, a lot. That's quite a
Sure.
bit.
Okay.
Much larger market capitalization is going to have. Yeah, there's going to be some more stability. There's still volatility though. Like this here, that was
Yep.
all just since June 2025, right? And I think that is kind of like their that's their shelf, right? They brought things up to a really big high. They've come back down and settled at, well, that's going to be a Fibonacci level. I can tell just by looking at it. So they're ready for their next big pump because
BNB.
that's a nice, yeah. Yeah. That's a nice decrease. It might come back down and revisit to 729. Might.
Sure. Yep.
But yeah, it's in a really good position. And I think that, I think that basically if you're in the top 20 at this point in the race, you're probably going to 10x. That's your you might as well just put that one in the books. I think that most of them will do more. But that on average, probably a 10x on any of these. Avalanche, yeah. Sui, big tech. Hedra, another. They do massive trend. This is another DEX for big companies. So big companies, they'll just go ahead and make their own exchange. So then these big companies just trade this coin back and forth between each other now. So that's what Hedra is.
Is
Big
ADA in there? ADA's a coin, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Number 10.
Oh, it's number 10. Oh, Cardano.
Yep.
There it is. How's it doing? I can't see my computer.
Oh, it's terrible. 35 cents right now.
Mm.
What did you come in around 80 or 90, didn't you?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Don't worry, you're coming back. We've been you've chatted with us over the last month or so where I've talked about how most of the money is made in recovery.
No, I didn't. That's hopeful.
Let's go and check this out. Yeah, let's go. I'll explain this out. I can do it briefly. And Ian, especially if you can think of things that I'm missing as I'm doing this that you feel are important to note in this short little 2-minute presentation, let me know.
Sure.
But what we have is the ABCD pattern, where A is down at the bottom there, goes up to B, and then we have a retracement, finding another new support, C, a little bit higher than A, and then we extend back up to D again. And that's the formation of a trend. There needs to be the 4 full points for us to be able to say, yes, in fact, we are trending because we have higher highs and higher lows.
Oh,
well,
yeah. I recognize that. I didn't recognize that money is made in recovery, but that's kind of what you're saying right there. That's recovery.
That's why I keep saying, here's D, and people say it's going down. Oh no, I'm losing money. I'm like, yeah, but it's not trending down because we're still above C down here. C is 27 cents.
That's really an important point right there. I mean, for me, for me to kind of like, okay, that's a marker right there, that sense of trending. What is it trending? Yes, it may be going down, but what is it trending? Because the bigger picture is always more complete.
Yes.
Now, I think the big thing in here is timeline. You're going back to, A is back in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
That's 2.5 years ago. For some people, they don't look like 2.5 years is eons for some people.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking at more, maybe 6 months max,
right,
in their portfolio. And they if they're not doing well, then they're doing a major shift. So timeline does have to factor into the picture in terms of
absolutely
defining and making determinations. If you've got 30 years, then this is great, But for someone like me, yeah, I'm looking at something that's going to give me some good gains on the short term.
Yeah, 100%. Well, and that's where I think you couldn't be at a better spot, because the most of the money that's going to be made, out of all the money that will be made, it'll be made by the people who dollar cost average their way back down as low, close to C as they could possibly get.
Well,
I'm still buying. Like, you're right, Ian. If you take a look at the last 6 months, here are the last 6 months. That's depressing. And if we take the last year, Maureen, Denise, what a wonderful woman. She bought December 23rd of last year. December 23rd, right there. So she's seen ups and downs. She's been up and she's been down. She was up again here in August. Her hopes were up and then it went back down again. She's down now 59, 60% from where she came in. And it doesn't look right at all. It looks terrible. And this is why it's so important. It's further to what you were saying, Ian, that you never look, if you're analyzing the chart, you have to remember that what you're looking at is the reflection of people's emotions. And that while it's going down, more and more people are getting fearful. And it's already like, if you take a look at how cryptos are talked about today on Twitter versus how they were talked about here, it's hilarious because now they're down here, right? And they're complaining, and they're still not even as low as they were before they were on top of the world. And so when we look at this, that's why it's like this recovery phase is so important, because that's 227%. Well, that 227% compounds after that.
From D down to where it is now is a loss of 73%. So it is, but if you start investing at C, then you're up. But if you're dollar cost averaging, you're mostly down, obviously.
Yes. Yep. And that's how it is always. That is the funny thing about this. And this is why, the Warren Buffetts, they come up with lines saying that if you're smart enough, you don't need leverage. If you're not, you don't dare use it.
That's good. Well, if you're smart enough and don't need leverage, then leverage simply magnifies your returns.
Yes, totally.
But you know what? That whole thing, if you're smart enough, that's the critical part of that sentence. Like, we all think we're smart until we, hit the earth and do a face plant. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
For me, like, I want to look at, I'm looking at the next 4 years and saying, well, what's going to happen in the next 4 years? So the trend, maybe we don't see in actually the up and down of the lines here, but in the direction that the country is going or the world is going.
Yeah.
Well, and of course, nobody can ever predict that, really, but you can see, like, we know it's going to be digital. We know that. Mm-hmm. So what else do we know?
Well, we also know that the race that everybody is going to have to embark on if they want to receive monetary value in the emerging monetary system. I'm already well outside of the whole thing. Whatever it ends up doing is not going to affect me other than make me extremely wealthy. I'm at the point where I can't wait. Let this, we are all of us usually we are influenced by the music that we listen to, especially in our teen years. That's why the music industry always goes and targets teens to help them get programmed for the Matrix. Well, I was programmed with a certain sentiment, and I don't think it was necessarily accurate, but it was definitely from music, and that was I can't even remember who the artist was, but they had the lyrics that said, "The roof is on fire, but don't get the water. Let it burn to the ground. Just leave it alone." That's kind of how I feel about that old monetary system, because the trend, my dear Maureen, the trend is nothing but manipulation. We've talked about that. Look at this. This here, this was a bottoming out of the market. They had to shut the markets down because it was so bad. They had to shut it down for almost half a day. And the price still, after that shutdown, still went down 30% after that. And then where did the money go? It went into tech. And what we saw here was the inflation of the dollar. They just printed to oblivion. In fact, in September of 2019, the US government began putting $1 trillion on the books. $1 trillion a month. And so where did that money go? It bought all of these positions, right? It bought all of the positions down close to the bottom and watched as inflation made it more valuable, so to speak, right? Obviously, it's all fraud. So the trend, what's going to happen in the next 4 years? Well, let's look at the last 4. That's your trend. That's what we're going to be seeing. We're going to see something like this here, and it's going to make things look terrible. Everyone is going to be in great fear. They're going to be running around. Man, I'm reading some very fascinating literature right now, and some of the wording, some of the language patterns are so rich. There's depictions where man becomes so mad, they go mad to such a degree that they walk around sullen, absolutely silent, because they can't process what's happened. Okay? There's going to be people in that old monetary system who are going to be absolutely stricken with fear that they will be silent. They will not have words to speak. And it's going to be the same movement while everyone is in, oh, what just happened here? The rug will be pulled and it will just be shifted over to a new form of wealth. And this next form of wealth, I believe, are the cryptos, because that's the first thing Trump had to talk about when he was inaugurated. We got the Genius Act. And what was the second thing? Does anybody remember? Project Stargate. So those are 2 trends, very significant trends, because that means that the exchanges are going to become the banks, and we'll say goodbye to the old banking system, because the exchanges will just make sure that we can all move our coins around the world. And so this next big tank, I believe, is going to be something related to cybersecurity, and it's going to necessitate digital ID of some sort. Might not be the final one, but it'll be just another version similar to the program people got with the passport, the health passports. So they could pass through ports and do trade.
Well, you were talking about the literature you're reading. Reminded me of Revelation 16:10. The 5th angel poured out his bowl on the throne of the beast, and its kingdom was plunged into darkness. People gnawed their tongues in agony.
Yes. Yeah. I remember hearing this. Yeah, there's so much rich language around the end times. There's another passage where it says that the calamities were so great, men mercifully had forgotten. Oh.
Well, I think it's a blessing that God's created within our mind to forget highly traumatic events.
Ah,
I mean, sometimes those traumatic events do create, other things like PTSD, for instance, or other things.
yeah.
Called it shell shock back in the 80 years ago. But
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah,
But Ian, that's just consciousness, which is really a small part of
yeah,
our being. The unconscious is what drives us.
yeah.
So when I've heard figures that, I don't know what's right, but they say like 5% is conscious. It makes sense because it comes up to get your attention.
Mm.
And then 95 is the leftover, the unconscious. But because everything else is just run because we're on autopilot a lot. So,
Yeah, the way that that's been described to me is, of course, the vast majority of the processes that occur up here are to do the simplest things, yet profoundly life critical, like pumping your heart.
Mhm.
Like that just happens unconsciously, and that most of our physical system is entirely governed by that.
well, if that's true, then what's in front of us as far as like, um, I know we're being hypnotized by um, the feds printing all the money, right, and making it look like a certain way. But
Yeah.
I think what we know for sure is that we're being manipulated by an illusion that they're presenting, that they're marketing. So I think that's something that I know. I can't believe what they tell me. I know that. I
Hmm.
can't trust what they tell me. Maybe that's more accurate.
Yeah.
Um, Now, what I choose to pay attention to, um, like when I go through my own bouts of, you know, acting in autopilot, um, I'm looking for the more, the more than what they're telling me that I am. So the more
Right.
is, um, so I'm wondering, I know there's more. I know there's goodness. I know there's, and I think we have a choice. Like you said, I think the choice that I have, what you're presenting, Paul and Ian, is that I have a choice to see what companies are doing good in the world and invest in that and move in that direction. Let me put it that way. Invest my attention as far as financial and what are they presenting to the world? And to me,
Hmm.
that's choosing. Now, I don't know about Bitcoin. I love the whole idea of the blockchain and transparency, being accountable, um, the erasing of illusion, like you
Yeah.
can't fool the blockchain, you can't fool Mother Nature or whatever. But okay, so but will, maybe because it's human nature to try to figure out how to get around, how to create something alternate. Well, privacy may be a way, like Midnight, what they're doing is like they're not allowing that kind of transparency. But that's to me a good thing because that way then you're being shielded. You're shielding from invasion, personal invasion. It's sort of like the mail. I love that Ben Franklin did that, uh, and so that it made it a federal offense to open somebody else's mail.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
that whole thing that this country, the U.S. anyway, I don't know what it's like in Canada. So I'm just trying to like look at right now, so going to fundamentals and to choose the good. And who makes that decision, I guess? What do we know? How do we know it's good?
Mm-hmm.
And good in a sense of good for all. So I guess that's...
we have several. We've got lots of different references that defines what's good. I think what happens is that people, with the system itself, the video game, as it were, we were talking about that yesterday. The video game, as it were, is very distracting. And it's okay. It's shiny. It's got lots of flashy lights, right? There's nothing wrong with being distracted by it. But that when we believe that our identity is somehow wrapped up in the game, that's where we begin, like you say, it's like we're robbing ourselves of that fuller experience. What's more? What can we get out of this? How is it that we can advance? What allows humanity to flourish? And these are the things that I like to think on. These are the things that I like to invest my money into. Ian, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, I'm thinking that we need to take each of these subjects and create a video on each of them. That's what I've been thinking throughout this whole last 20 minutes or so.
Bringing each of these principles in, like talking about each of them for like 15 minutes. Is that what you mean? Like, and then bring it all together into a summary?
Yeah, like almost like having short interviews, where we can explore, everything from storage to, what started us on this conversation today, looking at CMC.
Yeah.
What determines what is important to you. The idea of holding interest. Why am I interested in this? Am I interested just simply to make a buck? Then in which case I can make a buck out of any coin whatsoever that has the potential of going up or down if I'm shorting it. So there's so many subjects that we've covered even today that and many of those subjects have little nuances that are subjects in and of themselves. So yeah, that's where my brain's been.
Yeah. I'm with you. I am so with you. I look forward to our next time we get to collaborate a little bit with the LLMs, because I believe that we can really start to shorten the distance between concept and presentation.
Well, and two, it's an organization of it.
Yes.
In a palatable attention span, that we've gone used to, that we can see it as a whole. And dyslexia is part of it, is that the problem with dyslexia is that you can't see the whole. Because it's fragmented, that you're presented with a page, 2 pages, and it's going to the wrong side of the brain, right? And you can use, so dyslexia, one of the treatments of dyslexia is to have like the flip pages that Seuss did. So in that, you see the whole page, like a 1-page note, like when you take notes on something, if it's 1 page, it's like you can hold that information of 1 page.
Right.
But if it's on 2 pages, then it becomes something else.
Right.
I'm playing here, but it's something like what you're saying, Ian, about this whole thing about how do we organize this in a way that's interest and value driven. And Yeah, go ahead.
Even the idea of what you're talking about of there being a disconnect, that's where I see it. What you were describing a moment ago is a disconnect between something that holds interest to me and then something I don't understand. If there's not a bridge there between the two, then there's a disconnect and I've lost interest.
Mm-hmm.
And that can happen in 30 seconds or it can happen in 15 minutes.
And the wholeness of it, Ian, because the interest and attention create the wholeness of it within you. That the disconnect is exactly when you don't understand. All of a sudden now you're disconnected.
Yep.
Or it's going to the wrong side of the brain. We could say that, you were forced to be right-handed when you're really ambidextrous or something. And you didn't have that, that cross. One of the things my chiropractor told me to do is do the cross crawl every morning before you get out of bed. It connects the brains. And
yeah, I've heard
see
that too.
the wholeness of that versus the whole brain versus the right and the left. So let's speak to the whole brain because there's a greater intuitive understanding of facts, separate facts, little bitty pieces of information, and the intuitive sense of whole. Anyway, I'm emerging with that in the sense like that's a full life. And I value that, especially at this age now. I'm like, okay, what can I do? I need to rest. I don't need so many facts. Anyway, this is my own personal journey, but does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's almost like putting a car together that was bought at IKEA. Sometimes, the item that you bought has only 10 pieces, but if there's 1,000 pieces, it's a bit more complex. And if you need all 1,000 pieces in order to make it work, then you have to cover the whole gamut. You've got to go from beginning to end, and there's got to be connection. There's got to be a solid line from beginning to end.
Mm-hmm.
When you have just the 5 pieces, it's easy to have a short line. Oh, that's simple. That's easy. That's easily understandable, etc. The 1,000 pieces, that's a little bit more complex. You have to take it slow. You have to take it section by section, and make it understandable so that, oh, okay, I got that. I got that. I got that. I got that.
Incremental wholeness.
Yep.
And in the sense of the more is always included in that. Because the more is that unspoken, unwritten, that includes the unconscious. I'm playing here, I'm just exploring with these ideas, especially, with the 4 of us. I know Audrey is not, totally present here, but her energy is here. That's how I'd call it. But the 4 of us, to have this, it's the fullness of being that I want. And Paul, that really is one of the things that you offer, is you offer a fullness of being. So I like coming when I like your classes. There's a fullness of being. And that's the direction I want to move in. And that fullness of being, the main driver is this biointelligence that's not programmed. And I know I'm speaking in kind of different words, but it is the still small voice of our original blueprint of creation. And if that is allowed to speak through the structure of this time-space coordinate, of our body, it will adapt in the right words and the right choices. But I don't know if that's just an intention that you have. Am I going too far off here?
No, continue.
Yeah. How does that land with you? Am I too new agey or something?
Well, it's definitely a new agey in terms of some of his terminology, but there is a ton of connectivity to that because I've been reworking this concept of my worldview in the past year and a half because I don't want to be able to. I don't want to say anymore that I have a biblical worldview. Okay, because that's just indicating a team. When I am connected to God, that's the only worldview I want. Okay,
I agree. I totally
and
agree.
so
Yeah.
And so that connectivity, because you could have a biblical worldview, but have, we got 4 people here. We can all have a biblical worldview and have different opinions about one particular item in that, in the Bible. So it's not so much that as much as what I seek is a God-centered, Christ-centered worldview. And that doesn't come from reading.
Right.
Yeah. When you read in the Bible that the angels are there to serve us, what the heck does that mean? Like, in my everyday life where I'm reading a book or trying to, I'm going to work or whatever the case may be, what does that mean? 99.9% of us have no idea. And why is that? Because we're so caught up in let's use what has become the conventional term now, the matrix. We're so caught up in it that we can't see that other realm. And I long to see that. My word for 2026 is imagine.
Ooh.
And this past few years, God has been drawing me deeper into what I call the beautiful abyss. That it's just crazy amazing, and anyhow.
Imagine for me, the creative imagination, because imagination has that ability to be creative, but a very good Christian, William Blake. I don't know if you know him.
Who?
William Blake.
I've heard the name.
Yes, he's an incredible poet and engraver artist, but he was totally immersed in the visions of God. He totally was. And I don't know, he was a follower of Swedenborg as far as like Christianity, but what he talked about is his epic poem was Jerusalem. And it was all about man's journey to the kingdom of God. But you wouldn't call him biblical. He wrote Good and Evil and the Innocence and Experience. Those were his most important, or The Doors of Perception. That's one of the things, a phrase you might be familiar with, or To Hold Infinity in the Palm of Your Hand. That's another kind of thing, but that kind of creative imagination, like he would just see the sun as a host of God. And he would just go into like ecstasy over that kind of thing.
Wow.
He's just an amazing poet. But this journey, I think that like what you were talking about is that when you're just one line that's the only thing that it can be, then I think you separate yourself from the rest of humanity. But see, I don't feel separate from you. I don't feel that you do that. You there's an openness in you that there's something about glory, the glory of it all that you connect with. I feel connected with you in the glory of it.
Do you know that the Greek word for glory means weight? So the glory of something is the weight of it. Or is that the Hebrew? I think it might be the Hebrew. Sorry.
Hebrew.
Amazing.
Weight.
The mass of it.
When you walk into a room and you can cut the atmosphere with a knife, that's the weight.
Yeah. Well, you connect from that place. I'm just going to say that. And look at the subject matter that we're talking about. That's that's way over here in the neural pathway of the brain of survival or whatever, or just operating in the world, in a practical way. But see, it's connected. So whatever, for me, that's what I feel in you. And that why you don't, when you speak biblically, that it doesn't turn me off at all. I mean, I'm not, and I don't have, I have some of that reference, obviously, because I was very interested in the Bible at one time.
Mm-hmm.
But I have changed. I have incorporated more. Let me put it that way. That I feel that I've made connections with other expressions. But that doesn't matter. What matters is to feel the unity to me in the group that I'm working in, and also in an endeavor, because yours is very, like you said, very palpable. And a lot of people, it isn't, because it's so covered up by the matrix, quote, the matrix, because that's where their attention
shares. Yeah, I've found, especially, and I like how Ian describes the church. How do you it's like
the General Motors Corporation of Jesus Christ,
right?
Yeah,
that one.
Yeah,
that's the one.
That, didn't he?
Yeah,
that was the last thing you'd want to do, isn't it? Yeah.
I just love it because and the reason why I like it is because it immediately helps me identify what language patterns the church likes to use in order to maintain control.
Good point.
We control this narrative of who God is, of who Jesus was, in order so that, well, I can go deep into the roots behind that, but the end result, whenever I go down these rabbit holes, it always leads me to the same thing. It's so that people continue to use the denarius of Rome.
It's called jargon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You get into some groups and they keep on using the same words over and over and over again. And you begin to think, okay, well, what do you mean by that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they can't explain it other than using the jargon. Like the word salvation.
Yeah.
Salvation means healing. It means redemption. It means restoration. It means safety.
Mm-hmm.
It means protection. But you have a lot of Christians, all they can talk about is being saved. Well, what does that mean? And then they speak, of course, the way they speak of it as if it's a transaction. And this is something else that has been really developed in my heart over the last couple of years. I have lived so much of my life as a transaction that I've missed the intimacy with God. And that, when I think that the love that God has for the world is a fire that burns with a passion hotter than the sun, we don't think of it that way. We think of it as, listen, I just need to get from here to there, and what does it take to do that? Whatever it takes, I'll do that. Well, that's a transaction. That's not a relationship. That's not an intimacy. So when I think of that, this word imagine is tied to intimacy for me, to imagine that. To take the stories of the Bible and go deeper, like what's really behind this? Like you look at the story of the prodigal son. Everybody thinks of this kid that went away, wasted a whole bunch of money, and dad brought him back. And what they don't see is the intimacy, the love, the passion, the intention, the intensity of the father toward both of his sons, not just the younger son. There's the self-righteousness of the older son and the unworthiness of the younger son, and neither of them knew their father. That's the significance of that story.
Yeah.
Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, think about the word into me see.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I've always defined.
Yeah, no, I've read a whole paper on that. So I'm like, It's like, what does that mean? And I think it's such a good inquiry. But when you said that about neither of his sons knew who the father was, and I feel unknown by my daughter. She does not see me. She sees me as a mother. And she's still rebelling again. She's still trying to define,
Right.
because I am, unfortunately, I guess you could call control. I want my environment. I want it to be this and that. And she can see the part where I restrict her from being who she is. And of course I do that. But at any rate, it is that whole thing of, how is it to be unknown? How is it that the father can be unknown by his sons? And it be okay that he does what he does from his own sense of intimacy, because he knows why he's doing it. Because what a celebration when one who was blind now sees.
Yes.
What a celebration that is. And he celebrates that. And yet, then the other son who is blind in another way, and I never thought about that. The other son who did his duty and all that is blind because he was upset with his father. Because look I've done all this good and you don't pay any attention to me. You don't celebrate me.
Yep.
So isn't it interesting to look at it? You just broadened my view of that. And I know it doesn't seem like that has anything to do with what we're talking about as far as what do we choose to invest our attention to. But I think it opens the gates of the origin point of who we are. And when that can flood our beingness, then we're going to do good in the world. It will just automatic. That's why I think it's the biointelligence. It's that intelligence, that original mesenchyme of the original cell that we're born in, that knows how to make a body. First, all the stem cells are in there, and it makes a body that can live in this world in a pattern. And that spiral plant of going up and up. Anyway, that to me, if I can just operate from this blueprint of creation, and whatever you want to call that, I think it's the glory of God.
Well, if you look at the two boys, if I may, Paul, I know we've gotten way far from CMC, but here we are. If you look at the two boys, both of them approached their father transactionally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The unworthy brother came back and said, just make me part of your household, and I'll be your servant for the rest of my life. The older brother, he said, well, you never slaughtered the fattened calf for me, so I could have a celebration. It was about transaction, doing something for me. It's like any transaction. Once I buy the house from the previous owner, the transaction's done and over with. I never see the guy again. That's a transaction.
Doing to get, I call it. Doing to get.
Yeah. And so you have a lot of Christians who live a transactional Christian life because, quote, now I'm saved. I prayed the sinner's prayer, now I'm saved. They have no idea. They have no idea of the depth of the beautiful abyss that God has for them to journey down, because they're approaching it all transactionally. And it doesn't matter whether they come at it from a self-righteous mindset like the older brother did, or from an I'm not worthy mindset like the younger brother did. Because it's one or the other, generally speaking. And how many people in a group say, you ask them the question, how many of you have felt like you're not good enough to do the job you're doing? Most people would put their hands up because there's some niggly little feelings in them. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. I'm not. You'll get the odd guy who'll say, well, I'm too good for this job. He's the self-righteous guy. He still doesn't understand the intimacy part. To know the Father, And so, so much of what we do, like even in this whole next gen merchants, what's the transaction? Right now, what we're doing is getting to know one another. Mm-hmm. This is not transactional.
Right.
This is intimacy in a way. We're getting to know how each other thinks. Transactional is with, well, Paul, what can I get from you today in terms of information? Once I have it, thank you very much. Have a nice week.
This reminds me of the conversation that we had, I think it was in Next Gen Merchants a couple of weeks ago, where it's really boils down to our way of being, and that there is no amount of doing that can bring about a way of being.
Yeah.
The doing is the transaction, right? Oh, I'm going to, in order to, right? If whatever you're doing is then concluded with the phrase, so that I can, it's a transaction.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's like part of the spectrum of living in this world. But I think to me, it's the more.
Well, the being must always inform the doing, not the other way around.
Right.
If the doing informs the being, then we are only as good as what we do. And we know from history that humanity has failed miserably.
Mm-hmm.
So the being then must then become the focus. Who am I? And we've heard that question.
Yeah.
That young people, especially, that is the most important question, even though they don't verbalize it in that format. Who am I?
You know what? I would like to use your word of glory being weighted. And I would say that even as a child, I think all of us have felt that I don't want to be like the world. That's not right. It's not right to be mean to people. I mean, I think all of us have felt that. And for me, there's an evolutionary, although it's not evolutionary, it's actually, there's an awakening. Maybe it's an awakening to that being weighted more and more. There being more glory in the sense of me discovering the truth of who I am as I've aged. And I would say that right now is the best time in my life as far as perceiving the glory of my life and to be at peace and in the glory of my existence, of this existence, not even mine, but of this existence. And I just think it's gotten more meaty as I've gotten older, as I've experienced life, as I kept choosing at a deeper level. Maybe it's depth, maybe it's awareness, awakening to the truth of who I am in increments. I guess that's why I ask, like, I want it to be incremental, but always with the more, the focus on the more. That yes, like, I think that's how you truly can be enlivened in this world that we're discussing here, the financial world. It isn't just a financial world. It's like, I think you said, a transactional world. Because it's like, oh yeah, I've always said I want it to be win-win, but I'm going to modify that, because I think there's something else. Is like that there to be the realization of glory. And that's what I would like. That is so touching to me. That's what I want for the new year. If I'm going to make some kind of an intention, is for this to inform me as much as I can allow it to.
Beautiful.
Investing in.
Well, I think of a 87-year-old man who came to be aware of. He had been a Christian most of his life, and he became aware of the fact that he didn't really know who he was in Christ. And through the assistance of an organization called Identity Exchange, at 87 years of age, he became aware of who he was, who God had made him to be. And 2 days before he died at the age of 92, the fellow that led him into that understanding, that awareness, met with him, and he said, the last 5 years of my life have been the most exhilarating of my life. And that's why knowing who we are is so important. Who did God make me to be? Who am I? That is so important, so critical.
I don't know, Ian. I think you should just sign up for the digital ID and let the government tell you who you are.
There you go. And here is something, and this is something that I truly believe. When somebody asks you who you are, who are you? I first say to people that I am a follower of Christ before I'm anything, before I'm a citizen, before I'm an Albertan, before I'm a father, before I'm a husband. I am a follower of Christ, because that is where I find my identity, because he made me. In him I move and live and have my being. And if outside of that, and this is why the government doesn't like that, they want you to do what you just said, Paul. Find your identity. I mean, every time you hear a cop refer to somebody, they refer to somebody as a citizen.
Yeah.
Every time you hear somebody in court, they want your identity and in the way that it was formulated on government documentation. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All this stuff relates to government ID, government identity. When people see themselves and understand themselves and know themselves outside of that, they don't like that. And that's why I think I think there's going to be a lot of stuff happening with people who come to know who they are, who God made them to be. There's going to be those are the people that are going to have the greatest effect, greatest change in our world, is people who know that, because they will then operate outside the parameters of all things that man has forced upon, outside the matrix.
And I like to see I like to visualize it, because I wish I could speak from the finish line, so to speak. We have to build this together. But that the wonderful thing is when that threshold is crossed and your identity becomes clear to you, then you realize, wait a second, this is my natural state, that I actually am willfully in the matrix when I go there. And that's another shift that occurs, where the analogy that I use is, now I have the Tim Hortons card because I got to go pay for Tim Hortons material, like the product at Tim Hortons, right? Down in the States, it'd be Dunkin' Donuts if I wanted the same result, right? Well,
Yep.
Except Dunkin' Donuts are actually good donuts.
Hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Well, this has been good.
Again, wonderful contemplation, and right straight out of the markets too, eh? I love it.
But it firmly establishes the origin point, that we come from, that we need, that needs to be brought into awareness. And then I think hopefully I can still stay in that current of that as I emerge into the world, and to have like markers for me to help me to stay, to be reminded, to continually be reminded to go back to that. And yeah, I can be still wrong and make mistakes, but it won't carry the weight. I'm going to use your word. It won't matter. You know,
its glory will fade.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just not the weight. It becomes irrelevant. It's I do the best I can, and then and I want to really firm this place. I do the best I can, and just continue to move and do the best that I can, and linking that best with the glory of who I am. And as I build weight over there, then that will make it more of an automatic kind of like it will. That's the angel, isn't it? It's the angel is a thought, it's a message, right? So the angel is that the weighted part of us is speaking to us. You know?
Well, that's what the Greek word for angel is messenger, is angelos.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
messenger. Yeah. Anyhow, I have to run.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you for
Blessings
listening.
to you all.
Yeah.
This was wonderful. Everybody have a good rest of the day.
See you
You too.
tomorrow, Paul.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
you bet.
Bye-bye.